Hello, Jamie. Beat you to it.
You did, but I feel you pushing me away.
Welcome to Dad's podcast, the first in the series. I would never usurp your power.
You gave me my power.
Yes, and you remember.
Well, hi, Daddy-O.
Hello, baby. Today is one of my guests, someone we met on a cruise, super guy. Lex has a varied career from, oh, I don't know what he did earlier, but he was a high school teacher, science teacher. He's a marine biologist. Even met Mel Fisher, the guy who was a famous treasure hunter in Florida, who always went to work for him. Did a lot of stuff, and he's got a great story to tell us that he only told a few people in his life.
Well, and fun fact, we had his wife Nina on the podcast a few months back.
They're still married?
They are. Seriously?
We're going to see them soon. Yes.
Oh my goodness. All right, so shall we bring them in? Should we just bring them in?
Bring them in.
Like, why any longer? Let's just do it. Here we go. Here we go. We're gonna admit Lex into the room. I'm excited to meet him because he's like your buddy from the cruise ships, right? So I'm excited to meet him and see what this Lex is all about.
Brother from another.
Isn't that cool? But it's not cool how you meet people that
Oh, absolutely.
they just feel like you've known them your whole
They
life
feel
or
like
you've connected.
they're your people.
I know they do. They just feel like you like know them, you've connected,
I think
and
he's
that.
on sabbatical this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We can't see you or hear you, Lex. I think you're in the room, but your camera is off and
He's
your
done many
mic is
things, but not
off.
computer expert.
I think that they're here. I
Zoom,
think
zoom, calling Lex.
I think you might have Nina helping him get on, maybe because it's under her login. I don't
He's
know.
getting it on.
Oh, stop it. No one needs to hear that. But I'm really excited because I think it's really cool when you go on vacation and you meet somebody and then you just click. And you guys are going on another vacation together soon,
We'll
right?
be doing Norway and Amsterdam, and we'll be doing a little Iceland also.
Oh, that's so cool. Lex, if you're on, we just need you to turn on your camera. There we
Whoa!
go.
Oh, he is getting help from
Well,
Nina.
but you're muted. We don't want you muted. We want to hear you
Can't hear
too.
you.
You're muted. We need the microphone on. I love it. It's like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
executive assistant doing the work for you. Hi, Nina.
I think they're in their Swiss chalet right now.
No, that's the
There's,
same spot.
there's snow outside. Look at
I
the
know
snow.
they're in Georgia, and that's where like
Okay.
Oh, God. Hey,
hi.
Oh, you
guys.
can hear us
Yeah.
now? Hear me now?
Yeah, did you get
Us. Yeah.
snow? Do you have snow outside?
No,
Well, you
Oh,
should.
It's the sunshine
okay.
reflecting off the lake.
Got it. Well, hi, I have met your other half, and it is
Yes,
so
you have.
nice to
Oh, that's
meet
Jamie, by the
you.
way. Jamie, that's
Yes, it's so nice to meet you. My dad was calling you his brother from another mother.
And he would be correct.
Well, I am so looking forward to talking with you. I've heard parts of your story, and we actually, I know my dad was texting you offline. I hate saying that because it sounds so like we were offline. But he was texting you about another guest that we had, but you don't know him apparently, so we won't bring him up.
No,
Okay,
Where's
we'll have to
he's
connect.
in Tampa?
Yes, we'll have to. So Dr.
Yep.
Joseph Totori.
Apparently, well, the many things he does, he was in the Navy for 28 years, but he holds the world living underwater for like 100 days off of Key Largo.
Yeah.
There's some sort of habitat out there. And they
Yeah.
wore him down, but he still holds that
Yeah,
record.
you have to listen to his episode. It's really cool. And we'll connect to the two of you guys if you want to have a new friend.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Well, I am so happy to have you. So you may already know this, but we start off every episode by asking the same question. So
Okay.
we'll give you that question, then we'll just lead into, and we're recording now. So we are recording live. This is your interview. We're
There's
here.
no editing, so be careful. Answer
Oh,
judiciously.
It really applies more to my dad than you. I have to remind him that there's no
I
editing.
understand.
Oh, shut the hell up. Oh, sorry.
So what is your number right now on a scale of 1 to 10?
But you have to remember,
One,
he's recovered from hip surgery.
oh, okay. All
That's
right.
why, that's why he's sitting
Got
down.
it. Well, that was his story to tell, but you just told it.
Yes, that's true.
Anyway,
What else do you
great.
want
We're just gonna have a moment. Done. Seriously. Okay. Anyway,
to know?
so a 10 is that it's your best day ever. There's not a worry of anything in the world. To a 1 being that you should not have gotten out of bed and should not be peopling, but you still are because you had to join us today. What is your number right now?
And
You
Oh,
want to think about this a bit?
every day I wake up, it's like, all right, it's a 10. I'm awake.
What's your number when you go to bed?
Um, it's got to be a 10.
But you don't know if it's going to be at 10 in the morning.
Well,
he's saying if he wakes up, it's a 10. Like that is like, I get it, right? Like we're not guaranteed that wake up every morning at all, are we? We're not guaranteed
well,
that.
one of my life's mottos is it's just a good thing I ain't scared to be lazy. because I just, it's just like I don't have anything to worry about. I got my tech person, taking care of
There you go.
everything. And ever since retirement, I mean, what's to worry,
Yeah.
That's,
This
I
this this is
mean,
very positivity
I
day.
love that. I mean, would you say that you've always had that type of optimistic attitude even before you retired?
Yeah, yeah, because another one of my mottos when I was teaching in the classroom was don't take yourself too seriously. Because I encountered other teachers that say during my planning period, it's like, oh, I need to go by and see Mr. So and so. And I'd go to knock on the door and go in the room. And what are you doing here? Interrupting my class. I'm like, hey, dude, it's just me. I just wanted to ask you a quick question. And they
Yeah.
get all uptight and everything. And I'm like, nah, no, I don't, nah, no reason to get uptight.
How long
So,
did you teach for?
um, a total of about 46 years.
Holy crap. That was high school science, yes?
Well, high school science for 30, almost 31 years.
God.
But before that, I was an instructor at a youth redevelopment program for juvenile offenders.
Isn't that how you and Nina met? Or were you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
She was an offender?
Yes. She was an offender. Yes.
Well,
No,
she was
she was
definitely youthful.
I think you guys,
So
because are you 8 years apart? Is that right? Do you remember that?
6.5.
Oh, six
Yeah,
and a half. I
six and
knew
a
there was
half.
my husband and I are 8 years apart. But I think that's, so when you say high school science, so that runs the gamut of a couple of different things. Like what were you teaching in science in high school?
I taught almost exclusively. It started out marine biology and oceanography,
Okay.
and that got sewn into one curriculum called marine science.
Wow.
And
Kids, I didn't have that.
so I taught that almost exclusively because I actually got my degree in marine biology.
Amazing.
And I almost didn't because when something I thought about, when I was like, I wonder what we're going to talk about, in this
We don't
blog.
know.
And so, I mean, that's which makes it all the better.
Yeah, there you go.
And
How many schools were you in?
um, well, not including Jacksonville Marine Institute where Nina and I met. I started out at a junior high school, and I was there for 2 years and was teaching physical science. And um, then I got transferred to the high school that is the junior high I was at was a feeder school to the high school that I ended up going to. And I went there because they needed a science teacher and a football coach. And I was in 2 years at the junior high, I went from an assistant coach to head coach
Oh man.
because because the guys there that were football coaches were not really football coaches. And when they realized, how much knowledge I had about coaching football, they automatically moved me to head coach. So I did that for a year. And then the high school needed a science teacher and a football coach. So I went there and did that for 7 years and then transferred to Mandarin High School, which is where we lived in Jacksonville when it opened brand new in 1990. And I was hired as the assistant football, tennis, and science teacher.
And you speak
Wow.
Mandarin.
And I speak Mandarin. Hang on.
Doesn't. No.
No, that's Japanese. That's Japanese.
Wait, so I got
I told
so
you.
many questions. So your expertise in coaching football, did that come? I know from my conversation with Nina, you've got two boys, right?
One,
Oh, one boy.
one
So
boy.
did you coach him in football growing up? Is that where the
I
expertise came
did.
from?
That was my last coaching stint was coaching him in high school.
Okay.
And I quit for two reasons. Number one, I'd done it for 17 years and it was getting to be a drag.
Mm.
And and the other reason is because my swan song of coaching, it was horrible because it was spring
Black swan
football.
of coaching.
It was, yeah, yeah. It was spring football, and the head coach asked me. He says, "Lex, I know you're going to retire from coaching. Could you at least film spring practice for us?" And I said, "Yeah, that'd be great. I can do that." So those ladders they have at places like Lowe's that they push around, to get up
Oh
on the
yeah,
top
yeah, the
shelves.
Yeah.
road,
Those big metal things on wheels
Hmm.
that look like a big triangle.
Yeah.
Well, that's what was out on the field to put the camera on to film from a high perspective.
Oh.
And so I walked out onto the field with the camera and the tripod and everything, and I'm climbing up this ladder and it's on grass.
Oh,
And I'm
jeez.
like, yeah, it just doesn't seem real sturdy, but they've got it out here, so I guess it's okay. So I climb up on this thing.
Oh,
It's behind
no.
the goalpost. And so I'm up, I don't know, 10 or 12 feet up high, set the camera up. I'm getting it all set. And all of a sudden,
Oh, no.
it starts slowly going
And you
backwards
can't get off.
and I can't get off.
Oh, jeez.
So about halfway down, two things went through my head. Number one was throw the camera off to the side so when I hit the ground, it doesn't smash me in the face. So I
Mm.
tossed it off to the side. And then the second thought was literally was this is going to hurt. And sure enough, I hit the ground, boom.
Ah, what'd you break?
I fractured four vertebrae, two in the thoracic and two in the lumbar. And the two in the lumbar stand is the issue that I was dealing with on our trip. That's why,
Mm.
you and I would do those squat things
Sure.
to help stretch out my lower back because of the arthritis there in
Oh.
those two lumbar.
You guys were in the gym together?
No, in Paris, in the street in Paris. He just
Yeah,
been.
we'd find a pole and go, hey, time to squat.
And it's funny because besides us,
Are you being serious?
a lot of homeless people were doing the same thing.
Only they were leaving
So,
greeting cards.
oh my God. Okay, so take me back. Did you grow up in Jacksonville? I'm trying to remember where you grew up. No, you grew up
No.
somewhere else. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
I was born in Pensacola when my dad was stationed there at the Navy base.
Okay.
He was a fighter pilot. And so I was born in Pensacola, and then shortly after that, we moved to Jacksonville, where my brother was born when my dad was stationed at NAS Jacksonville.
Okay.
Let's get that
And
remodeling.
then,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
we did a lot of moving. We did a lot of moving. Every 2.5 years, we would go from essentially from the East Coast, either Maryland to Virginia, to
Right.
the West Coast, either Monterey or San Diego.
Wow.
Because of the Navy?
Yeah. And he would get deployed. He would do, because he was a carrier pilot,
Oh,
when
wow.
we were on the West Coast, he would do what they call Pacific tours, where they'd go to Hawaii, Japan, Australia. And when we were on the East Coast, he would do typically med cruises. They'd go over into the Mediterranean. And I got to spend a little time on some of the carriers when we were in California on the Oriskany, which they sank off of Tallahassee a few years ago as an artificial reef. And then also on the Ticonderoga and the Bonhomme Richard were some of the carriers that he was on in his World War II stint. He flew in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam.
Wow. And landing on a carrier in those days was very precarious.
Yeah.
Man.
And he lived to tell the story of it. That's incredible.
Well, he didn't live long because what they said about Navy pilots back in the day was they had in one hand they had a cup of coffee and in the other hand they had a cigarette.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so he died of lung cancer at 55.
Oof.
Plus being
What
those
year was that? What year would that have been?
that would have been around 79 when
So
he
still, I
passed
mean,
away.
all those wars, like if you watch every single World War II movie about the pilots, the Navy pilots, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, that was
There's a crazy.
amazing just to even be able to get beyond. You said the Korean War, the World War II, and did you see also
Vietnam.
Vietnam?
Man.
Yeah, he
Wow,
did
what a
in
hero.
Vietnam he did low level photographic reconnaissance when they were um,
Wow.
mapping the area there
Mongols,
in
yeah.
South Vietnam. Yeah,
What a
yeah,
hero. I mean, incredible.
yeah.
Wow. So okay, gosh, let me.
Re-
I'm a little speechless, but okay.
Repress, repress.
Okay, so you grow up and you're moving. That has to build a little bit of resilience, being a child and being moved every 2 years.
Yeah, yeah, it did. Because when you hear about people saying, "Oh, when their children moved, it kind of screwed them up and everything," but every time we got ready to move, we looked forward to it. It was a 2 week vacation trip driving across the country. So by
Oh,
the time I was 13, I'd seen, um, the Grand Canyon, the Painted Desert, Yosemite, all
Mhm.
the states in between
yeah.
driving across the country, and then we look forward to making new friends. So, as Stan can attest, it's easy to make friends. So,
He
But
also
that's not
had
a
he
that's
had
not
a
an
cup of
easy
coffee in his hand.
but that's not an easy skill to have, right? I think that especially I talk a lot about today's youth and how their friendships are very different. A lot of us talked on
Mhm.
the phone to our friends when we were younger. We were outside playing. We had a lot more interpersonal
Mhm.
skills that we came about.
Yep. Oh
And
yeah.
so as you then taking that and becoming a teacher, I imagine that was a really great superpower to have to know how to
Hmm.
connect with pretty much all walks of life.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it just as you know, speaking of some of the mottos that I had, one of the other end of the classroom was you had to first of all, I always said you had to be a subject area master. You had to know your subject cold because I thought that a lot of times students didn't like to ask questions because in other classrooms, when they would ask a probing question that the teacher didn't know, the teacher oftentimes might get embarrassed
Sure.
and
Yeah.
shut them down. And so
Right.
kids are like, well, why bother?
Right.
Whereas with me, it was, because I taught marine science and that's what my degree was in, I felt I knew the subject pretty well. And I prided myself in thinking, no matter what question a kid asks, I'll find a way to tie it into the topic so that they feel like their question was valid.
Love that.
And because I loved it when students ask questions because most of the time, anybody got an answer to that? Anybody?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing. Like, I think, in parenting, kids ask questions and we get frustrated. Just stop asking. It's because I said so. So I think as, young adults, you're shut down so much from asking questions that it just triggers
Yeah,
into your everyday life. It's why adults don't ask questions and we don't,
yeah.
so
I
yeah.
don't want to look stupid.
Right. Okay, so you like are moving all over the place, going back and forth from East Coast to West Coast craziness. And then where does your love of marine science come in? Because I obviously you're bi-coastal, the water's there. I would
You
imagine
can't
you
say
Yeah.
spend
that. You can't
time
say that in the podcast. Oh,
bi-coastal.
you can. That one you can say.
I
Yeah.
can say
Oh,
anything. It's my
she's
podcast.
assuming my identity.
As opposed to usurping it. That's it.
So where does it, so how do you like you're going back, you said you came back at 13 and you were going high school or middle school. At what point does your love of marine science kick in?
My earliest recollection of that was when we lived in Monterey and
California.
a rocky coastline. And I can remember going down to the ocean and looking in tide pools and seeing all these little creatures in tide pools. And I was just fascinated with, just looking in this little area and there's all this stuff, sea urchins and starfish and little tiny fish and sea anemones and just all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, God, this is amazing. And I was maybe 5 at the
Oh,
time.
wow.
And then in high school, my favorite class was biology, even though I was in a pre-engineering track in high school.
Mm.
So on my way to college, I enrolled at Southeast Missouri State because when my dad retired, we moved to Southeast Missouri. Um, I went to SEMO State, Southeast Missouri State, and um, on the way to college to drop me off at the dorm, my dad's driving me, and he goes, "What are you going to major in?" And that's when I'm literally thinking. And I said, well, I love the ocean and my favorite class was biology. So I think I'm going to major in marine biology.
Wow. And it was just on that. It's so funny that you say that. You know, I love that. I love that you didn't know before you went in. I had this conversation. My husband's family is from London, and they cannot go into university without having their major already picked out. Like they have to
Yeah.
go in. And I love that here we have, and people don't realize that we don't have to do that for the first few years. We can go in for general ed and we can decide. I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's just people don't realize those cultural differences. And so
Yeah.
you decide that you're like, I'm going to go to marine biology. What does your dad say at the time? Is he like, yes, go for it? Or is he like, what was his reaction?
Well, uh, he he was a true Renaissance man. I mean, I never saw him get flustered. And so for him, his response was, "Are you sure about that?" And that was all it was. It wasn't like, "That's the stupidest thing I ever heard," or,
Yeah.
or "Yeah, son, go for it." He just,
Yeah.
and it made me reflect on it and made me, can I validate that? So I was thinking, it's like, and I was like, yeah, really, I think that's what I'm going to do. And I'm one of those rare people I found out later that s- came into college and stuck with what they thought they were going to
Right.
do.
Yeah.
Like Nina, when she enrolled at Jacksonville University, she enrolled as a marine biology major.
Yeah. Showed us. Yeah.
Yeah, and became a criminology and sociology major.
So
So,
funny. Well, I think
Yeah,
it's really funny that you were in the middle, like landlocked, and became a marine biologist. Like Missouri is like, I
yeah.
mean, you had the lakes there, I suppose, but interesting that they had such a great program there. Or was it, did they have, I mean, I'm assuming.
Well, I went there for 2 years and got my basic science track stuff. Plus, being a liberal arts college, you had to take a bunch of other liberal arts stuff. And that cost me when I transferred to Florida Institute of Technology in Melbourne, because when they got my transcripts, they were looking at it and they're going, PE, sociology,
Wouldn't count.
art appreciation. They
Uh,
scratched off a year's worth of credit.
oh my
So
God.
it took me 5 years to get my undergraduate degree.
What made you
And
transfer because of the degree?
yeah, yeah, because at the time, this is 1972. At the time, FIT was one of only three schools that offered an undergraduate degree in marine biology. There was
Really?
FIT, there was University of Louisiana at Baton Rouge, and University of Washington at Seattle.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And I picked Florida because I was like, well, I don't think I have any connection to
Yeah.
Louisiana, and I don't want to go up where it's freezing cold.
Sure.
And my sister had just graduated from the University of Florida in Gainesville, so I thought, well, I'll down into Florida, and I applied to FIT, and they accepted me.
Amazing that there weren't more coastal states that had those programs because they had readily access to the ocean. Like
They do now.
yeah, well, I'm sure.
They
Yeah,
do
yeah,
now.
that's incredible. So, so you do this, you go to school there, and what was your, I mean, obviously that's being a scientist and doing research, but what was your passion and hope to have this degree help you do?
Well, I found out that going to FIT focused. Well, the FIT was started in 1958 to produce scientists for Cape Canaveral. So it was
Oh,
very strictly an engineering school. And as they broadened their offerings and everything to include marine biology, oceanography, and aeronautics and that kind of stuff, um, it just it focused more on research science. So it was, the genetics of bacteria and their viruses
Mm.
and biochemistry and all that kind of stuff. But in my mind, I was thinking, no, I want to be scuba diving and going off in submersibles and all this kind of stuff. Well, that's the Jensen Beach campus of FIT, where they train people to be boat captains and dive masters. And when I went down there on a tour, my last year at FIT, it was like,
That's
that's the
it.
school I should have gone to.
oh yeah, that's so funny.
But anyway, I ended up going to Jacksonville Marine Institute and was hired on as the marine science instructor, then became the seamanship and sailing instructor, and then became the scuba instructor, and then was promoted to director of operations, which is when I left.
Wow.
You didn't. You were diving before that, though, correct?
Yeah, I started diving when I was at SEMO. You're right. We went in lakes and quarries
Your
mainly.
buoyancy, is that saltwater? It's freshwater. So buoyancy is
Freshwater.
totally different.
Totally different. Totally different.
So you
But
trained in freshwater and then went to
yeah,
saltwater. Oh, wow.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's yeah. That
Well,
and
a
that
lot of my diving in Florida even was in springs, which
oh
was
really?
crazy because you had to be cavern and cave certified. And cave diving, you talk about
That
dangerous.
story's coming later, I hope.
Oh, well, we
But
can.
we
I
shall.
would love to. Well, I think it's really fascinating. You dove, when did you start diving? When was your, like, way before you had kids,
We
right?
started diving in the Disney in Epcot.
But didn't you dive before you had kids?
Well,
No.
I got certified in high school.
In
No,
high
I
school.
didn't. No, I got certified. I had kids. Yeah, it
Oh, you
was
did?
a high school pool. Yeah.
But so I don't know when you got certified. I worked on a cruise ship for a few years and I got certified on the
Oh,
cruise ship, which was
yeah.
really cool. So I got certified in the ocean in salt water. We used the pool a little bit, but that was, whatever,
Right.
just
Yeah.
back in the early 2000s. And just I know just my fascination of just as a regular person, not as a marine biologist, but being in the ocean and seeing just life underwater, there's
Yeah.
nothing like it.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. And so now you're talking caves, and I know a little bit of your story. So tell us a little bit about, can we talk about that? Because
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
very curious. So you had an experience, you were diving in quarries and lakes up in
Mhm.
Missouri, then you did some springs in Florida. At what point was this monumental dive happen in your world? At what point in your
Well, that was at the very beginning. Um, and it was just fortunate that I didn't know enough to know how bad the situation was that I got myself into
Okay.
because it was right at the beginning of our diving experience. But there was a guy at the college that wanted to start a dive club, and so I was definitely interested. And there were maybe I don't know maybe six of us. Uh-oh, what happened?
You're good. We can still hear you. It's just your video froze a
Oh,
little bit.
somebody just okay. Somebody's trying to call in, I think. Eh,
We can still hear you though. We just your
Okay,
video is frozen a little bit, but we can still hear you clearly. They'll get the hint when you don't answer them. Oh, did we lose you for a second? We may have lost them for a second. I just think it's so fascinating that you can dive in all different places. I've never been in a lake or a
I
quarry.
get certified in a quarry.
You did? Where? Here in Florida? No.
Up in New York.
Really? Isn't it dark?
Visibility wasn't that great.
Right? Like I just think of a quarry as being like dark and dull and like
It
just
depends how active the quarry is, an old quarry. Something good. You have to go on, and you're under, take all your equipment off underground and stuff, and it was crazy stuff.
why did you do that?
That's part of the certification test. Take off your
Yeah,
net,
you're right, it
take off your
is.
tank.
I don't even know how often you're supposed to renew.
I need a badly. I need a refresher course.
Should we do it again?
Maybe.
Really?
Just for shallow wreck dives.
Okay.
Nothing super deep.
Do you remember, and while we wait for him to come back, listener, this is the
Hello.
clear, we're stalling a little bit, but do you remember we did a dive? So I worked on a cruise ship for 2 years. And when I worked on a cruise ship, my parents were able to come and cruise with us for like a nominal fee. I think it was like $30 a day or something like that.
That
It
was
was
actually cheap.
crazy, maybe cheaper than that. And so they lived in Florida. So we used to always like find them. It was standby. I think you guys probably took in the 2 years that I worked on the ship,
Mhm.
maybe like 12 cruises. And there was one cruise where you came and we went to Marco Island, not Marco Island, to Royal Caribbean's private island, Labadee. Do you remember that? And as we're there, it was a dive off the beach, and you had to like literally walk
That's
with your equipment onto the
that was
beach, and then we had to walk out. And that must have been, so it's 20 years ago. You would have been in your
young. I
50s,
was young.
yeah. But that's a pain in
Oh,
the butt. Yeah.
absolutely.
We were making up time here as we waited for you to come back. We were talking about how we once did
A
a
beach dive.
beach dive. You're muted. How we once did a beach dive, and my dad and I did it in a private island, and we had to walk with the equipment. And how much does that equipment do you think weigh?
Uh, Probably a good 40 pounds.
That's it, you think?
Maybe
With
more.
like with a tank and everything on you? Yeah, so we were
am I
just sharing.
back?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're good. We were just
Yeah.
sharing our story about how my dad and I went diving one time off of a beach and we had to like literally walk with our equipment in and then walk out. It was
Expensive.
miserable,
Yeah,
miserable. But yes,
yeah,
go on. So
that's no
you're
fun.
you're gonna do this, six of you are gonna do this quarry dive club.
Were you certified
Yeah,
like that? Had you taken the course at that time?
that the guy who formed the club got in touch with a PADI instructor who said, if you, since you guys have been diving for a little while, because we've been diving together for probably about a year in
Oh,
various springs and lakes and
Uncertified?
uncertified. I mean, it was just
It's like
this
the
is back in
70s though, right? Like who cared?
1970, 71. Yeah, I mean, it was like, hey, let's go for it.
Yeah.
And so I literally went down to Memphis, Tennessee, walked into a dive shop and said, what do I need to get as far as all the equipment to be a scuba diver? And they sold me all this US divers gear, which was the thing back then. That was a company owned by Jacques Cousteau.
oh, I didn't know that.
Ah.
Yeah. And so we all buy our gear and we all just go, let's just go diving. And we knew nothing about it.
Were those the two hose regulators at that time or no?
No, they were single hose,
Okay,
still single. Yeah, two hose was back then that was even back then that was considered kind of old timey, and now it's considered high tech.
really?
Oh yeah. And so we buy our gear, we start diving and everything. And so this guy says, "Well, I found this guy who's a certified instructor who told us if we go make a dive while he's present, when we come out from the dive, he'll certify us." And we said, "Great, that's a great way to get certified." And so we make this dive, and I'm paired up with this guy who's notoriously slow getting his gear on. And so they paired me up with him because they all wanted to jump in the water and go diving. So I'm waiting for him, and I got impatient. I said, I'm just going to go in. So my only flashlight was one of those old, like the waterproof red things with the button on the top, that
Oh
you
my
push down
gosh.
and that you buy at a gas station or something.
And you're in a quarry, which is like really dark.
And really dark, but and we'd never been there before, so we had no idea what the conditions were, other than it was a
Okay.
hole in the ground with water in it. So I jump in and I've got the light on and I'm just following the sand down deeper and deeper and deeper,
How
and I
deep was
see
it?
this.
How deep did it go?
Well, the only time I really checked my depth gauge was I was at around like 80 feet, something like
Ooh,
that, which
Okay.
was deep,
Yeah.
especially for back then with the lack of experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I see this little fish in my light swimming down. So I was like, oh, I wonder where it's going. So I start following it. And then as I'm going down there, I start shining the light around and I can't see anything beyond the beam. I'm like, wow, it's really dark. And so I was like, I wonder how dark it is.
oh no.
So I pushed the button down to turn the light off. Light goes off, and I'm looking around going, man, I can't even see my hand in front of my face. It's that dark. I was like, man, it's really dark. So I went to turn the light back on, but the pressure had held the button down so it couldn't come up to push it down again to turn it back on. I had to go click off, click on like that. And here, I'll do it here. Is it click on, click off? Well,
I
I
don't
pressed
know.
it
My
down to
mouth's wide
turn it
open
off,
because I can't
and
even
it's still
imagine.
down. And so I'm pushing on it like this, and then I'm trying to pull it up, and it won't come up for me to push it back down to turn it back on. I'm like, oh, great. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go back up,
And your dive
and
buddy is nowhere to be found.
nowhere to be found. So, because he still hadn't even suited up and gotten in the water.
That's slow. That's
It's
slow.
very slow because I'm slow. So I thought, well, I'll just swim back up until it gets light. And when I did, I bumped my head. And I was like, are you kidding me? So I start feeling around and there's a roof above my head and it's totally black. I can't see anything and my light won't come back on. So I'm like, oh crap. I'm in a cave and I don't even know it and I can't see a thing. It's not like I could turn and look, oh, no, it's nothing. So I was like, okay, all right, what am I going to do here? So I put my hand on the ceiling and then stretched my fin down and pointed my fin. And I thought, well, I'll start crawling in one direction. And if my fin starts touching the ground, I'm going in because I'm thinking, caves go like
Yeah.
that. They get
Yeah.
smaller as you go in. And
Yeah.
sure enough, I started, dragging my fin on the bottom, like, okay, I'm going in. So I'll turn around and start going the other direction. But when I
Smart.
started to turn with no visual reference, I don't know how much is 180 degrees. So I started turning. I was like, whoa, 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 I don't know how far I'm going. So in a panic, I thought, well, how am I going to be able to tell which way is the other way? So I had my hand like this touching the ceiling, and I
Mhm.
put my other hand backward to it so that when I turned, this hand was facing in the opposite direction.
Got it.
So I start going in the other direction, and it's starting to get bigger again. I mean, I can't feel the bottom, but
So
I'm
you're
looking
going
and
the
then
right
going,
way.
I can't see. I don't know if I'm going the right way or not.
Okay.
So that's when that's when I literally had this out of body experience where the other me went up and was sitting like on a shelf in the inside a cave looking at me going, okay, what are you going to do now?
What had panic set in at that time?
Oh yeah, I was panicked at that time because I had no idea where I was, where out was, the only
So
thing I knew was up was there,
and you're
and that was
sucking in
it.
more air, of course, because
Yeah, yeah, I had to make myself slow down because I felt myself going
oh,
like that. I was like, stop, stop.
Wow.
So I made myself calm down. And then I had this, I know it sounds fake, because people have
Wow.
heard about it now with these out of body experiences. But all of a sudden, I felt like I was on a moving walkway where I was moving forward, but I wasn't, like if you're standing on a moving
Yeah.
walkway, you're
At the
just standing there,
airport,
but
at
you're
the yeah.
moving.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The moving sidewalk.
Lex,
And I'm,
when you saw your other self up on the shelf, was it in gear or diving gear on?
um, no, mm-mm,
Hmm.
no. And literally sitting there with my legs crossed, like relaxed, like,
Wow.
man, you've gotten yourself in a fix,
Oof.
watching my real self. And so all of a sudden, I'm going down like this tunnel that's draped with the only thing I can relate it to is like sheets where light can come through, but it's softened.
Sure.
And I'm going down this tunnel and I'm looking around going, what is this? And then, like off in the distance, I can hear, I say hear because it didn't really wasn't through my ears, it was like inside. I can hear what I thought were my ancestors saying stuff like, oh, Lex is here. Lex is coming. And when I heard that and felt that, it made me relax. It made me like, oh, oh, okay, so this is where you go. And they were like, Lex is here, Lex is here. And I'm going through this tunnel moving forward. And then all of a sudden, I again heard a voice. I distinctly remember it came from the upper left-hand corner of my vision, a deeper voice that said, no, it's not his time yet. And immediately started going backwards out of, and I'm going, wait, no, 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 I want to go, I want to go. And
Mm.
it's like, nope, nope, it's not your time yet. And then all of a sudden, boom, I'm back in the cave looking at myself. And I'm going, okay, I start making, I promise I won't cuss, I won't lie, I won't, just get
Yeah.
me out of here. And I also had the
Negotiating your
thought,
life. Yeah.
and then I thought, my parents are really going to be embarrassed
Hmm.
because people are going to go, hey, how's Lex doing in college? Oh, you're not going to believe it. He went diving and drowned in a cave. And I was like, how are they going to explain this? I mean, I literally, the stupid stuff that goes through your head. So all of a sudden, I'm back in me, and I look off in the distance, and I see a little pin light, a little light, and man, I swam to that thing as fast as I could, and it was my dive buddy, and he's looking around like, hey, this is fun and everything, and I'm like, so I grabbed him and I start going, let's go up. And he's like, oh, okay. And we start to go up and boom, we're still in the cave. Our
Oh,
heads hit the
gee.
ceiling. And I see him go, oh, we're in a cave. So I'm holding on to him and I'm looking around, and off in the distance, I can see some dim light filtering from the surface. And I let go of him and took off for this dim light. And sure enough, that was the entrance to this cave. And have you ever seen those videos of penguins coming up out of the water onto an
Yeah, yeah,
iceberg?
shoot
How
Yeah.
up
they
there.
jump out and then bang like
Yeah.
that? That's what I did. I came out of the water like that, took my mask off, threw my mouthpiece out of my mouth, and I literally knelt down and kissed the ground. And when I looked up, that guy who was the scuba instructor who said, I'll certify you, he goes, looks at me, he's got his clipboard, and he goes, hey, what's your name? And I said, Alex Waters. And he goes, good, you're certified. And I was thinking to myself, dude, if you know what I had just gone through, you would not have certified me.
Oh my gosh.
And I
That is,
checked my pressure gauge when I got out and kind of got myself gathered. I looked at my pressure gauge. I had about 400 pounds of air left. And that's out of 3,600 pounds of air. I had sucked it all the way
You're
down to
sucking.
400. Yeah, I had maybe another couple of minutes and I'd run out of air. I mean, it was just that close.
Did you tell your dive buddy at the site what happened, or you kept it to yourself for a while?
Oh, I kept it to myself for years,
why?
years,
Why?
because it sounded so, to me, it sounded like if someone was telling me that, I'd be like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, thinking, yeah, how much of that did you make up or whatever? But I had never heard anything about near-death experiences until after I had graduated from college in 75. I read a book called Life After Life,
I read the
and
book.
it caught my eye. And I was
What's the
like,
book about?
it's
Called,
about people who had near-death experiences, meaning they had they were alive, they died, but then they came back to life. So there's life after life.
What made you
And
grab that book?
it like a magnet. When I saw it, I was like, I wonder. And so I got the book and I read it. And as I'm reading it, the experiences that these other people were talking about chronicling in this book, I was like, yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, that's what happened to me. Yeah, that's how it felt. That's what it sounded like. That's what it looked like. I could not believe it. So no one can say, well, Lex, you heard about near-death experiences, so that was embedded in your brain and you imagined it. I'd never heard of it before until I read that. And then since then, I've, of course, have heard more stories about that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yep,
now
yep.
that experience, one would think, would carry through almost every day of your life. You'd have a memory of it sitting there
Mhm.
someplace. Does it ever go away? It gets dimmer?
No, it doesn't. And what it does make me question, though, is um, did I deserve it? Did I live up to it? The second chance that I was given?
Hmm.
what was the reason?
Well,
Um,
you haven't cussed in 40 years.
oh, hell no. Oh, man, your dad is such a bad influence.
But you know what? There's a greater purpose, and so
Yeah.
did you ever tell your parents? Because I know that you said that years later you found that book, and your dad must have died a few years after that experience. Or
Yeah, it was not much longer after that because that was in 71 and he died in 79.
yeah.
And I honestly can't remember if I told them. And I've only told people who have expressed an interest, asked something about that.
Mhm.
And one time though, I did tell a friend of mine who I played tennis with in Jacksonville, whose daughter was dying of cancer.
Mhm.
And he was obviously very distraught. And we were sitting around at this seating area, this table in the lobby at the YMCA where we played tennis, and it came up. And so I said, this is probably a good opportunity. So I said, I know you're not going to believe this, but I want to relate to you a story. And I told him um, a slightly more abbreviated version of what happened. I said, and I'm telling you this because this is what I think happens after you die. And so don't be afraid. And doing it to try to,
Yeah.
Comforting, sure.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I told a couple of my classes when we would, because I did a unit on scuba diving as part of my marine science class.
Always have a buddy. Never leave your
And
buddy
yeah,
behind on
yeah,
shore. Never go. Always have a
yeah,
good flashlight.
because it doesn't always work out that well, where
Yeah.
divine intervention steps in and goes.
Yeah.
And so when students would ask me things like, Mr. Waters, do you believe in God? I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely believe in God because I think God looked at me and said, you know what? This guy needs all the help he can get.
Has the same experience duplicated itself in dreams after that? Like, are you there again? You go to sleep sometimes, you wake up in the cave?
No, I don't think so. No, not that I can call where I've had this, it's like, wow, I relived that experience or anything.
Ever like go
Um,
to a meeting with a medium or like a psychic to see anything that they would be able to tell from that? I mean,
that
now
might
this
be
little video will be
interesting.
public, so they might be able to research you and fabricate
Yeah,
stories. But I'm just wondering, like, what that would be, like if you went to somebody and if they, I don't know,
I
because
had this experience and,
yeah,
or maybe not say I just see if
yeah,
they could divine it or not. Yeah.
Was
yeah.
there any difference in hair color before the incident and shortly thereafter?
I feel like you're fishing for something here.
Well, the good news is, in that regard, I actually started turning gray when I was 17. So it had preempted itself in that regard. But yeah, that was for me, it's been a very comforting thing
I bet.
to know, that and having read these other books of people experiencing the same kind of thing, knowing that, yeah, yeah, there is something on the other side.
And you did a
There's,
lot of cave diving after that. A lot of your career was in cave diving, wasn't it? Man, it's
yeah, I got cavern certified technically, but I went through all the stuff that you need to do to become cave certified. But then I thought, you know what? Some of the best cave divers in the world have died in caves. As a matter of fact, a buddy of mine used to do recoveries of divers who had drowned in caves. And the one story he related to me that I would often relate to my students was they found a body, and he was tucked up in a corner in a cave system, and that's where he had died. And clutched in his hand on his slate, he had written a note to his buddy, "Don't worry about me. I know the way out."
mm,
But he didn't. So, knowing that kind of stuff, I was like, you're just asking for trouble going into these
Can't do
caves.
it. My
Yeah.
claustrophobia would not allow me to do caves. I just couldn't. I couldn't. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just couldn't do it. Well, I wonder if that's also led into you having this 10 type of attitude, right? Like you've survived, you have this,
Mhm.
you've experienced something that most people will never experience, hopefully.
No.
And maybe do you feel like that plays into you feeling like every day is a 10 that you wake up?
Yeah, yeah, I have to think so. I have to think that that's got something to do with it. I mean, that and like I said, don't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, your dad's a living example of that.
I know. I
What,
figured it was,
what does he mean by
yeah. Well, so
I'll
then,
fill you in
okay.
later.
that?
So what an incredible story. He told me briefly about it, but he butchered your story. So it was way better hearing it from you. Um, but so then you taught for so many years and you retired from teaching just recently. Is that correct?
I retired in 2011, and
Oh,
so it's been a while.
yeah.
But I got in the school system did this thing that they don't. I mean, again, God looking out for me. When you look back and go, divine intervention was they had this thing where if you had put in X number of years in the system and you were getting ready to turn 60 in a year that you would like to retire, that you would be granted an early retirement package where you would get full health coverage until you turn 65.
Oh,
And so I got this email and I'm reading all these, the criteria. Do you meet this? Do you meet that? Blah, blah, blah. There were about seven things. And I read all seven and I met them all. And I was like, there's got to be a catch. There's got to be a catch. Because I was thinking, I'm about ready to retire. And so I called the district downtown and said, hey, listen, I got this email with this thing about this early retirement package for, health coverage. And I was just checking to see. And they said, well, let me see. And they go, oh, yeah, Mr. Waters, you're already approved. So if you want to do it, you can do it. I was like, great.
peace.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
Another great teacher lost.
So how are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's like sad because we probably could really use teachers like you still in the system no matter where we are. But I think it's interesting. So you live now in the mountains of Georgia, far, far from water. How are you still tapping into that love of marine science that you've had your whole life?
Well, Nina's story, working with high net worth people and everything. And the one person that, that she's worked with the most closely with, um, goes on CNN and sees this segment called CNN Heroes or something like that. And it's about this outfit down in the Florida Keys, which kind of ties back into the marine science thing, who does coral reef restorations called I Care, and it's International Coral Reef Association, something. That's their acronym, by a guy named Mike Goldberg, I believe his name is, who's the director there. And so this lady, I don't know if I can say her name or not, who Nina worked with, saw this and said, "Hey, Nina, there's this operation down in the Florida Keys that does coral reef restoration with using volunteer divers. They train them up and then they take them out to the reefs and teach them how to transplant coral to renew coral reefs. And have Lex, because of his background, contact them and find out what they do and see if it's something I'd be willing to support." So, long story short, I contacted him, and because of my connections with, I was the president of the artificial reef research team in Jacksonville for a couple years, and we were doing a lot of artificial reef work off the coast of Northeast Florida. So I called him up down the Keys and said, here's what I'm interested in finding out from you guys. So long story short, they met everything that she would like to support, and I got them a $650,000 grant.
Woo!
And I
They
said,
like you even
what?
more. Sure.
Not bad. So I said, here's he goes, well, what do I need to do? And I said, well, think of the top three things that you need supported for your program and make number one just shoot for the moon. I mean, she'd never do it. Just shoot for the moon, and then the next two after that are things that you really do have to have. And so he submitted the grant and she approved it. And so she approved all three of those things for 3 years.
Ooh,
And
that's
that's
a
what,
big one. That's a biggie.
yeah.
And as part of that includes you, then I imagine.
Well, they send me updates on what they're doing and everything, and they've invited us to come down, to come see it and everything. But we're up here now, and that's all the way down in Key Largo, I think.
Yeah.
And so we've kept in touch, briefly over the last it's been about a year and a half, I think now, something like that. But so that and I tried to get the junior high school here in Pickens County, Georgia, to be interested in doing work with underwater uh, unmanned vehicles. This
Wow.
buddy of mine, who unfortunately he was an oceanographer at the University of Maryland, um, could build these little underwater camera things with propellers on them and a camera where you could fly them underwater. And they used them to like inspect underwater structures and things like that. And so I introduced this program to the junior high school here in Pickens County with the long shot that, these kids in North Georgia, going to want to do something like that. But um, I tried to get that program implemented here, but it didn't catch on because they weren't looking for something that elaborate.
Yeah.
And but that was um, Doug Levin was the guy's name, but he unfortunately passed away unexpectedly on a fishing trip up in Washington State.
Oh,
He was on a boat, halibut fishing, and just had a heart attack, just like that. And I
wow.
had just been in contact with him too about getting his updated next generation model because I wanted to share it with my grandson
Yeah.
and stick it in their pool and show him, hey, look, Ace, you can drive this little thing around under the pool and you take pictures and video and everything. And then he passed away, and it's just shocking. I mean, and I didn't realize how internationally recognized he was. He gave conferences in Japan. He took field trips with his students down to New Zealand. I mean, he was amazing. And he and I were buddies. Just I met him through an oceanography conference when I was in Savannah um, with the job I was doing at Jacksonville University. And he was sitting there putting this thing together while the presenter was up there talking, and I'm looking at him. And so I went over to him and started chatting with him. What are you doing? And he goes, hey, and he's a lot like you, Stan, real gregarious, outgoing, very personable. And when he saw I expressed an interest in it, he hooked me in and got me involved in his underwater unmanned vehicle project. This was really cool. I called him Dr. What If. And I called him that
Good
because
title.
every time you'd ask a question, he'd go, yeah, but what if we did this? I mean, he
I
was just,
love that. That's like my jam, like, right? Like challenging it, like thinking outside the box, seeing
that
what's
was him.
possible.
Oh my God.
But
He
it
was,
sounds like he was able to move on in a place that he was really happy. Like fishing sounds like it was probably a hobby for him, and like
yeah,
he left this world doing something he loves to do.
Once again,
yeah.
too much fish can be bad for your health.
Oh, shut up.
Tell us briefly about your experience with the famous treasure hunter, Mel Fisher.
Yeah, yeah. I was down there on vacation shortly after I had graduated. And of course, my dad, the whole time I was, at FIT being a private school, it's kind of, it
Pricey.
ain't cheap. And matter of fact, I wanted to go to graduate school and got accepted, but he cut off the money, and
Ooh.
after 5 years, and I was like, okay, yeah, I need to get a job. So I was down in Key West on vacation, and just down there just off Duval Street, I happened to go into this little nautical shop, that sold
Yeah, there's a million of them down there. Yeah.
yeah, stuff. And so I go in and talking to the guy behind the counter and saying, "Oh, what do you do?" And he goes, "Oh, we treasure hunt and we get artifacts and that kind of stuff." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." He goes, and he asked me, "What do you do?" And I said, "I just graduated with a degree in marine biology." And he goes, "Oh, really?" He goes, he goes, "You scuba dive?" I said, "Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm a certified scuba instructor." And he
Oh.
goes, "Oh, I could use you." And so I didn't know who he was. And so I
Was
was
that
like,
is that
"Oh,
Mel himself?
that was Mel."
Oh, jeez.
And his
So
name
I
is like
had,
famous
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
discovered all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
I'm talking, so I started talking to him to find out what they do. And they said, yeah, we're looking for the Atocha. And
Spanish ship, yes.
it's the Spanish galleon that they had been looking for years. And while I was in there, this big fella comes in who looked like a linebacker. And he said, yeah, he was on our tug that sprang a leak and submerged, flipped upside down,
Oh,
and
jeez.
some of our crew were drowned on this thing. And he said, but he got out. And I said, well, how'd you get out? He said, I swam through a porthole about this big around. I said, how in the hell did you get through a porthole that big around? And he goes, you'd be amazed what you can do when you think you're going to die. So he
You're
said I
like,
just
nope,
stuck one
I've
on.
been there.
And I said, yeah, well, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact, I can relate.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't much longer after that. I said, oh, I'd love to, but my dad would kill me after spending all this money to get, a degree in marine biology and then end up being a salvage diver in Key West.
Until
He'd
you
kill
find his
me.
gold.
So, and it wasn't much longer after that that they found it. And everyone that worked for Mel, the dive crews and the boat crews and everybody got $1 million apiece. They found that much. It was now he had to fight with the state of Florida over the rights to it because they
Just
wanted to
gold, like
claim it.
pirate gold, like real, like gold. And
Yeah, yeah. So what I did buy from his shop was a gold coin that you could hang on a necklace. And he said, now that's not an actual coin that we've recovered from the Atocha, but it's gold we recovered from the Atocha and minted with a mint from the Atocha.
oh, you went back years afterwards. You went back and bought it.
No,
Or
I bought it while I was there in the
oh, wait,
shop,
oh,
while I
oh,
was
got it.
there at the time. And I said, nah, I can't take a job, but I'll buy the coin, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You still
And
have it?
yeah, oh yeah, I've still got it. But he said up front that's not a gold coin that was part of the treasure, but I mean it's part of the coins that we've found. But we took some of the gold and on the ship that we've uncovered was a mint to press to make coins. So we take some of the gold and we use that press and we make these coins and we sell that to help support our efforts and everything. And like I say, it was shortly after that they hit the mother lode, and it was, I mean, probably the billions.
So they had already found some of it and they were going to go
Yeah,
bigger.
they've been and that's what their motto was. I can't remember the exact motto, but their motto was is wait till tomorrow because they kept looking and not really finding the mother lode. They kept looking at and they did this for years, and people were like almost like laughing at them. There's old Mel Fisher's crew out there vacuuming up the bottom trying to find the Atocha, and they
And
finally
is it
found
just
it.
like when they find it? I'm just curious, like a big treasure chest like you see in Pirates of the Caribbean?
The whole ship's only buried in sand. How they even found it, I have no idea. Just new technology found it.
Is he still alive?
Is Fish is still alive?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm on the
And
podcast.
it came out in a National Geographic magazine sometime in the late 70s, early 80s. National Geographic did a whole thing on Mel Fisher and the Atocha and them
Your own
finding it.
greatness was brushed by other greatness at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I missed out on it, but
It wasn't
it
wasn't meant to be. Wasn't meant to
wasn't
be.
meant
You
to
had other
be.
things to
What
do. You would have never met Nina.
bingo.
Yep, and
That's
that's
what I
the
was
real
just
treasure, right?
exactly. Because
Within
I just
hearing shot.
She's still in the room. She's still
no,
there.
she's outside. So you can say whatever you want.
What,
Yeah, because I would have spent that $1 million in no time.
what's the deepest dive you've ever done?
I did get my deep dive certification with a buddy of mine who was doing it. He was in the class, and he said, "Yeah, the last thing we have to do is make a deep dive, and to get the certification, you have to pass some simple mathematical skills
I would never pass.
while you're at depth. You know, yeah, like
You mean like two plus
calculate
two
the
underwater or
yeah, yeah. Calculate Avogadro's number using the no. But
pi equals.
so I said, well, listen, I'd like to make. I've never done a real certified deep dive. So you go to I think it's 120 feet, and they know that at 120 feet that you're going to be suffering from the effects of nitrogen narcosis, which is that phenomenon that you get where you
Yeah.
yeah you get narked out they call it.
Hyperbaric chamber
We
type
call
of
it we call it Saturday night.
Yeah, exactly.
when you're on a cruise. When you're on a cruise. I need to go on
Yeah.
a cruise with a Ford View.
You don't even have to pre-drink.
There you
And
go.
so you go down to 120 feet, and then you're in a circle, and then he'll write something down on a slate, and you have to do a little calculation. Yeah, literally like 2 plus 2 or something like
Really? Oh,
that.
I was kidding. Wow. Okay.
And no, and the whole time we're there in this group, I felt like we were going in a circle.
This was in
And every once
freshwater or saltwater?
freshwater.
And you really weren't moving at all?
No, but it felt like it. And what I had to do, whenever I would look in the center of the group, it would spin. And I'd have to lift my head up and look out away and see something and go, okay, all right, we're not
What
And
spinning.
that's the
And
depth. That's the depth that's doing the trick
that's,
with you. So you
yeah,
calculate.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, hey, I'm some macho guy, doing a deep dive to 120 feet until I went to a conference, an underwater conference, where they were talking about these guys who do deep dives. And these are guys that spend days staging tanks. They'll go down and tie tanks off
So they
and
can
then
get
come back
higher.
up
Yeah.
and go to and yeah to get so they can extend it on further down. And so when we dive off whenever I dive off Jacksonville to depths, around average depth is anywhere from 70 to 100 feet. And anytime you go below 30 feet, you have to make what's called a decompression stop on the
Safety
way
stop.
up.
Yep.
Yeah, so you don't get the bends. And so we'd make, decompression stops coming up and from these dives to 80, 100 feet and whatnot. And so our decompression stops are always at 30. We'd start at 30 feet and sometimes and then we go to 20 and then come out. And so I'm listening to these guys talking about these deep divers that are super technique guys. And they said, yeah, after our first dive, we came up to make our first um,
Ecom stop.
decomp stop. Thank you. Our first decompression stop. Are you still there?
Yeah, we can
Okay,
still hear
somebody's
Right at
you.
trying.
Yeah.
150 feet, probably.
So we came up to our first decompression stop at 500 feet.
That's
How do they survive that? How do you survive? How can you live that? Oh, I think we lost you. That is what you call a cliffhanger. That how do you do
this is only
500?
season one.
How do you do
I
500
have no idea.
feet?
I think you're doing a different mix of oxygen. You must be breathing some other mix, but
That's like
even the pressure.
insane. That's
Oh, if
crazy.
he needs us outside, we'll never see him
Oh
again.
my gosh.
Where are you?
Well, that might be our cliffhanger for the episode. Listener, we will try and get for you the end of this story, but talk about
Or
cliffhanger.
is that him sitting on a shelf, looking down, looking at us, looking at them?
What a fascinating story. And I just think that like,
I told
wow,
you,
I
right?
can't, what are you guys gonna talk about now when you go
Well,
on a
first,
cruise?
first time I heard that, the skin of my back of my neck started bristling up.
Yeah. Have
Mhm.
you ever had an out-of-body experience?
Not like that. No.
So then like what?
What have I had? I think I had something, but I compartmentalized it. It's back in the compartment.
Really?
I have to pull it out someplace.
You've never mentioned that to me.
I don't think I had it. Maybe it was a forced memory.
Is it a memory or is it a movie that you watched that you think you lived?
That was it.
Well, listener, we are sorry. We've lost Lex, but I think it leaves us on a cliffhanger and we will try and get you the
Can I
answer
text them?
for it. Well, we'll end it here. We'll try and get the answer for you here. We hope that you enjoyed his story just as much as we did. And wow, thanks, Dad. Good guest. Both
They'll,
of them, Nina and Lex, were fascinating. I
there'll be
love
a,
that.
because there'll be a pop quiz after the podcast is over.
Oh, okay, we'll do it. Listener, thank you for tuning in. We're sorry we end on a cliffhanger. We will find out the information for you. Oh, he's back. Let's see. Hold on. We'll wrap up the story real fast. But what an incredible, like 500 feet. That's just
There
like,
we go.
there we go.
We were
500 feet
decompressing.
is insane.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, 500 feet.
But they're
That's what
breathing a
they came
different
up
mix.
to.
But they're breathing a different mix, aren't they? Not just
Yeah,
oxygen.
yeah, breathing nitrox.
But how does their body withstand that kind of pressure?
Oh, well, actually, the only pressure you have to worry about is
Years.
inside your ears and
Uh,
sinuses. And as long as those are equalized, you can do that. But these guys, yeah, they're making depth. They're going to 1,000 feet.
They come
And
up,
this
they're
was it.
breathing out of every orifices of their body, but they did a good dive.
Yeah, exactly. Blowing snot bubbles for a month.
Right.
You,
Wow. Well, Lex, I just said to my dad, what are you guys going to talk about when you see each other again?
Oh,
we have more stories. Are you kidding?
If
oh
I
my
could be a
God. Yeah.
fly on the wall.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, some of the stuff. Yeah.
Just
And
like
I
if
was
she
trying to. I
ported
was.
from like Iceland or something like that when you're there, like
Oh
try and like
yeah.
actually.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. Like the time I drove in the presidential motorcade with Ronald Reagan. I can tell you about that.
Oh my
Yeah. Yeah, I got frisked by the Secret Service.
What they
So I
find?
had because I had a pocket knife.
You haven't seen it since.
Nope. And they had to ask
God.
somebody to vouch for me before I could drive the car. I
Oh my
was driving
gosh.
the
You're gonna
press in
have
a
to
motorcade.
we're gonna have to invite you back for another episode because we've already taken up too much of your time.
Next
But
time we can talk
Oh,
about the various types of herring found in Norway, edible and non-edible.
maybe you
we're gonna
guys
have to.
do an episode from there. Like you hop on Zoom there and I'll
I
talk.
think that's an awesome idea.
All four of us.
All right, let's
Fantastic.
do it. Let's do it. Thank you so much. I'm so glad
Yeah.
that you're feeling better. I know that you had surgery recently, so I'm so glad that you're feeling better and hopefully getting back on your feet and able to do all the things you want to do in your 10 days. Not your 10
Yeah.
days, but your 10.
Yeah. They're all tens.
Yeah, I'm so happy to
So
have met you. Thanks for taking care of my parents on these vacations and
Oh,
make sure
quite
they
the
don't get too much
contrary.
trouble.
the
Yeah,
older people always take care of the younger people.
Oh, there you go.
that's right.
Give her a kiss for me. Give her a kiss and a hug.
I will do. Hey, and it's great to meet you too, Jamie. This has been great. Been really looking forward to it, and this is a first for me. So
Oh, yay.
I'm really enjoying it, and I hope it's worthy. I hope
You're
it's
gonna,
It's
you're
gonna
gonna
be
get
so
a,
pod
you're
fun.
gonna get a copy for you to keep it. You once we're published.
It's on, yeah, you'll be public on YouTube. So when you do go see that medium, don't tell them that you did this episode because then they'll know the whole story.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
And you'll never forget that headline about the midget spiritualist who broke out of prison.
Really?
The headline the next day said, uh,
Small, medium, at large.
uh, thank you. You complete me.
Well, can I tell you a quick marine biology
Yeah.
joke?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Let's end that way. Let's
Okay.
do it.
What did the fish say when he bumped his head?
He bumped his head, bumped his
I don't know what.
Damn.
head.
Gu-
And on
Guaranteed to be a
that
real
note,
knee. That's a real knee slapper.
Thank you so
till next
much,
time.
Lex. Nice to meet you.
I should have
You
said
too,
cave.
Jamie.
Cave is
Bye.
the cave. It was the word cave, not damn
Yeah, but you
cave.
can't. You don't say cave. You don't just go cave.
He did.
Oh, oh yeah, you did.
Holy shit! Holy shit, cave.
There was that too.
Thank you so much.
All right, you two.
Bye,
Thank you,
Take
buddy.
Lex.
care.
Talk
Bye.
soon.
See you in a few weeks.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh my gosh, so funny. I'm glad I'm not on the cruise with the two of you crazy folk.
This guy's done so much. I wish I had him as my science teacher.
You know what? Like, I think that's just such a cool attitude that he has, is that like never, be upset, like always.
So both of these guys are just very upbeat. Maybe it's to do because of their affinity for the water.
Yeah, so when we talked last time with Dr.
And you said last time, you remember on Sunday you said to someone, you heard something, you went, aha,
Hmm?
like a brief, aha, I have an idea, something.
I said that?
Someone said that.
With what?
Lex and I would say, aha.
Okay, anyway, listener, I'm going to end this for you because it's painful for me as well too. Thank you for listening.
Aha!
Thank
Until
you for
next
joining
time.
us. Until next time. Bye.
Booga, booga, booga.